Oh, yeah.
That's why I made multiple copies.
Or a copy right around the corner. Yeah, but there was 4 or 5 other groups of folks. There was the park school group, and then there was PWRA guys. There was 3 groups. Right. All right, it's 11:45. Welcome. I'd like to call the meeting of August 4th, 2023, or April 4th, correction, April 4th, 2023, the UT Southern Advisory Board. And I will ask him to call the roll, please.
Jenny Granberry,
Here.
Dr. Doug Haney,
Here.
Beverly Johnson, Duran Johnson,
Here.
Caroline Giselle McNally, here, Dr. Grant Harwell.
Present.
Thank you, Tim. And welcome everybody. It's good to be back with everybody. I know we spent a fun day at the General Assembly getting confirmed last month. It was a close vote, but we all made it through it. We had to, had to do our driving behind the scenes. But it was a close vote, and it was fun to spend a lot of time with everybody and get to know everybody a little better. And it's good to be back to the UT Southern Board, former Martin Methodist. I know Duran and I spent 10 years together on the board, and Robbie and Kim and Judy and all the folks that were involved, and just happy for this part of the state. And I've said many a time that there's really nothing anybody could do from an economic development point of view to make this 13 county region better, because it's a school is what makes a community, and this school is a big part of the community. And so we're just happy to be back involved in our role as advisory board members, and we look forward to pushing ahead. I know Dr. Martin has a very aggressive agenda, and I enjoyed previewing the slides last night and looking at the goals. I know, Robbie, you share a lot of those goals, and whether it's the turf at the East Campus or a new roof on the Galt Fine Arts building, it's all important to the betterment of this great institution. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Martin and make some opening remarks, please.
Excellent. I'm going to go ahead and come to the front, and I'll speak loud. So the microphone picks me up. And Beverly, can you hear me okay? Okay, great. So I wanted to just kind of give you an overview, and we'll go to the slide presentation here. And I will make that available to folks later on, but just talking a little bit about kind of the story and what do we talk when we talk about UT Southern? What is our story? Where are we headed? And I've said many times to a lot of folks, we're really trying to establish UT Southern as a destination campus. And so we talk sometimes about regional campuses, and I'm not changing the slides here. It's not going, so we'll have to rely on you to change the slides. But when we talk about what the role that UT Southern can play, go ahead and change. It really is about us being a destination campus, and really what defines us as a campus, and it's our focus on students and student experience. And so as we think about what the story we tell, we talked about the economic development of this region. We really serve a group of counties that weren't otherwise served by a public four-year institution. We're the only public four-year between Memphis and Chattanooga. And so it really provides an opportunity. One of the things you may not know is U.S. News and World Report, we ranked 33 of 132 regional colleges in the South. I was in the final, let somebody call us a regional college. And we're number 29 in social mobility. And we're not going to stop there. We're going to continue to move that forward. We decreased tuition by 60% in the K-7. That's a game changer for students in our area. It gives them an opportunity to pursue an education that they might not have otherwise had the opportunity to pursue. We also have the UT Promise students with a family income of less than or 60,000 and less that qualify for the full can come to any of our UT campuses free of tuition fees. And so that again is a real opportunity to change the way we think about higher education and opportunities. The next just is a summary of our campus facilities, and some of you are more familiar than others. 60 total acres split between main campus and east campus, 27 buildings, all of which need some TLC, some more than others. It's just that we have about 44% of our total space is allocated to housing. We have 400 beds. And at some point, maybe at a future meeting, we'll do a tour when students are not in the residence hall. We'll do a tour of the residence hall so we can see where students are letting them. We're going to do some work on residence halls. So we're excited about that. Our student demographic, you've seen this before. We're about 75% in-state, 25% out of state. We represent 30 different countries. And our first year retention is something that I want to hold up as a real accomplishment. We're over 60% first year retention. What does that mean? Students who start with us the first semester as a first year student and come back the second year as a second year student. And so the reason why I want to highlight that, well, we have a long way to go. And I think reasonably that we can be one of the top institutions in the state on retention rate because of the care and concern that we focus in terms of student success and faculty and staff commitment to helping students be successful. We had 11.8% increase last year. That's unheard of. While we have a long way to go, that shows that there was a constant effort in enhancing retention. I will make these available to you as indicated. Enrollment with 934 students right now. See that we have a range of students representing different races and ethnicity. We have a 13:1 student faculty ratio, and we're about 60% women and 40% men. That's pretty consistent across the country. And I really think as we think about building now our degree programs and our recruitment efforts and our student experience, thinking about how we engage young men and thinking about coming to college, because we know that young men are not attending college at the same rate as young women. So that's something that we're interested in. We have 22 undergraduate majors. Next slide. And 2 graduate majors. We're exploring new opportunities all the time. Just as an FYI, nursing and education, 2 of our popular majors. 80% of the students that graduate from those programs go back to either practice or teach in a rural area. So that's quite significant. Athletics is an important part of the campus. We have about half of our athletes, half of the non-athletes. You see the sports that are listed here. Always looking at how do we meet the needs of our student athletes. We just got back from the NAIA conference where it focused on meeting student athletes' needs and the focus on mental health, student success, all the things that we know are important to support all our students, but the extra care that we need to give to our student athletes because of the demands that they face. From an employee perspective, which just shows where we are in terms of total employees, about 52 full-time faculty. We depend heavily on adjuncts, about 35 to 45 adjunct faculty who help really bring expertise to this campus that we wouldn't necessarily otherwise have. We really rely on our support staff, our staff that work in student affairs, admissions, all of that is all part of what contributes to our success. And so, has been valuable. Opportunities, so just quickly, and we've talked about this before. We have some opportunities relative to facilities and infrastructure. Safety and security is our #1 focus and at least effort that we're going to be focusing on this summer. We've got a lot of other needs, but until we take care of the safety and security of our students, the faculty, and the staff, none of the other things matter. And so we're really doubling down on that and making sure that we address the shortcomings that we have. Also, ADA accessibility, the average age of our buildings is 68 years. So when you have buildings that are 68 years, average 68 years old, you imagine that there are a lot of needs relative to ADA accessibility. And so we're doing a review of that and starting to prioritize the needs and then addressing the ADA needs as we identify those. Also, residence halls, we have a chance to see those in a future meeting. We need to come in and do some repairs, heating, we need new windows, we need new electrical, a lot of things need to be done behind the scenes, but really important. Also, the thing you said about our academic buildings, our athletic facilities. Many of you saw in the newsletter that we had Dr. Johns dropping here to look at the athletic fields. He's a faculty member of the Michigan Institute of Agriculture. They've been very helpful in partnering with us on a lot of things, and we're excited about that. Looking at the office renovations, making new space available, thinking about newly acquired properties and how do we use those to meet the needs of our faculty, our staff, and our students on campus. Dining facilities, working and partnering with NEST to ensure that we provide a variety of meal choices, but then also how do we bring places that serve food around different parts of the campus so that we can meet students where they are at their team classes and they have access to that. Also focusing on campus beautification. Robbie has been charged with making sure that there's flowers around here. So I next time you come, you'll see flowers all over the campus. Thank Robbie for doing that. Partnerships, just wanted to highlight a couple of those. Partnering with the city of Pulaski on tennis courts. We only had 4 tennis courts here, which didn't allow us to host tournaments, matches. And so we had generous donations to be able to pay for the you'll hear about some of that in advance, but I don't want to take your thunder. But really, we had the donor for building 2 more courts. The city had 2 more courts. The city had 4, so it allowed us to be able to move forward with athletic competition, but in partnership with the city. Looking at communications and marketing website redesign, the system, the UT system, helping with us with that. Looking at the health clinic, how might we partner with UT Health Science Center in Memphis to enhance what we do at our clinic. Looking at library partnerships with the system, particularly UTK, so that our faculty and staff and students have access to some of the library resources that others have. It's not a cost savings, it's just really leveraging the buying power that exists within the UT system. And then finally, we have the opportunity to pursue public-private partnerships, particularly that's just new. And so Knoxville, for example, is moving forward with residence halls with public-private partnerships, and that's been really valuable for them to move that very quickly and add new beds, so that opportunity will happen down the road. Opportunities for academic and student success. You'll hear more about that. There's a number of these. Dr. Chim, our provost, will talk a little bit more about that, but also really thinking about student engagement, really learning communities, community engagement. We're very involved with the local communities, local counties, and that's really important. Next, we're planning and re-envisioning. We're working with Buffalo No Limits on a pricing model for figuring out how we provide institutional aid in the most effective way that we can leverage the institutional aid that we provide to attract students, to bring them here and retain them. So they're working with us on study, in the process of strategic planning, creating a strategic vision that will inform our master planning effort, which will follow. Also looking at the Turner Leadership Center and doing a study there to say, how does this fit in with our strategic plan? How do we serve our campus? How do we serve our community? And so that's really exciting as well. And then finally, leadership matters. And we've made some really important leadership changes in the last couple of months since I've been here. As you know, Evan Leach was an interim vice chancellor for advancement. He became the vice chancellor for advancement. And I worked with Evan for a number of years, known him for a number of years. And I can say we could have searched the nation and not have somebody better suited for that position, and not somebody who was any more passionate for Southern and for making a difference. You'll hear from him later. Vice Chancellor and Director of Athletics, Randy Paul, is the only person on our senior leadership team who did not carry the title of Vice Chancellor. We want to make sure that all of our senior leaders are viewed as colleagues and partners in the decisions that are made on campus. He represents over half of the students. Remember, we have about half of our students are athletes. And so we need those voices at the table. And so I was really excited that we were able to move her from the associate vice chancellor title to vice chancellor. We just hired, not quite yet, vice chancellor, all paperwork side, vice chancellor for enrollment management, the mayor, Dr. Brent, who joined us. I hope that each of you have the opportunity to visit with him later, since spent 27 years at UAH and has a remarkable record for growing enrollment, for focusing on students. It's about the student experience. He's done a lot of work in recruitment, retention, everything that we know makes a difference in terms of the experience that students have on campus. He has lots of expertise. We're excited about him starting with Stars April 17th. But he's already been in campus a couple of times. He's been engaged in a number of different activities that we've already done. He's going to the ground running. He's here today and tomorrow because he's helping us interview for the other leadership position that's shown here, and that's the Vice Chancellor for Strategic Communication and Marketing. Marketing is currently vacant. This is important. We're going to recruit students, and we're going to have a website that brings people to our campus. We have to have somebody who thinks about that all the time, and not just a portion of it, but is very strategic about the way we use media, about messaging, about branding, all the things that you as a group know are important for success. So those are kind of where we are in opportunities, and I'll just finish today with our goals. And these are goals. I have 15 goals that President Randy Boyd affirmed just earlier this week, and some of those that are most of the greatest interest to you is really defining what it means to be a destination campus, doubling down on student success, but a total enrollment of 1,000. President Boyd always said, we always say that goals should be somewhere between the possible and the probable. Or improbable, and so these are probably closer to the other end. And so we're pushing the team. I'm not a person that just sits on being average or not really charging forward. And so some of these things are going to be a stretch. And Evan Beach will talk to you later. He'll say his goal is a stretch, but I think we're going to do it. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. So 1,000 students, that would represent 7.1% increase. And if you look at what's happening nationally and statewide, small campuses are declining overall. So this is really something that will take us against the trend that we're seeing nationally. And so I'm excited about that. I feel confident that we can do it. We want to increase both our 4-year and 6-year graduation rate. You may look at that and say those are a little bit low. They are a little bit low. And I will tell you that they're lacking indicators. So we don't see the impact. So that's if a student starts this fall, it looks at what percentage of the students started this past fall graduated 4 years, and then how many graduated in 6 years. So everything we're doing today to help with our first 3 students, we won't see until 4 years from now in terms of graduation rate, or 6 years from now graduation rate. So it's a lagging indicator, but if we're doing everything right on retention in the front end, and recruitment and those kinds of things, and we're treating students in a way that can make them to graduation rates right. Say, how did I come up with those numbers? Those numbers represent our 5-year high. So achieving those goals would put us above our 5-year high in each of those areas. And then finally, the one that makes Evan Beach a little bit nervous, $5 million in endowments and gift funds. And I think we can do it. It's a stretch, but it's a stretch that I think could really have a huge impact on this campus. And I know the advisory group, part of what your responsibility is helping us think about fundraising and endowments and gift funds. And so we have such a great advisory group. I wanted to be bold and be sitting there looking at me, but I feel confident that we can get really close with your help. That concludes my remarks, and so but answer anything. We've covered a lot of information.
Well, thank you, Dr. Martin. That was a lot of information that's important, and whoever the new communications director, it'll be important for them to get the story out. And you know, every organization I'm involved with, we spend so much time reacting instead of being proactive and getting the word out before, you know, when it's a good appropriate time. I was a little remiss in my opening comments to just mention that we all should have our all the tragedy in our state the last 2 weeks in our prayers, from McNairy County to Covenant Presbyterian School and the helicopter crash in Fort Campbell. So I would be remiss if I didn't bring that out. And also, I really think the point that it was in your notes, you didn't highlight it when you were speaking, but this is the first new UT campus in over 50 years, which is pretty amazing when you think about it, because there's been so much advancement in the higher ed world that we just think about, you know, other things, and we just don't realize that first, you know, our friend Beverly Johnson, when this first came down, she said it's the greatest thing that's ever happened in Giles County. And I think that will be proven to be true for years to come. When you get that enrollment to 1,000, be a lot of sun drops being sold, Beverly. So, but I mean, you just think about the impact of the, you know, how many people it will take to support that next 500 and that next 500. And it just, you know, from every, you know, real estate to convenience stores to hospitals to grocery stores to you know everything. So that's and then I just have one question in the UT system, Dr. Martin, on a P3 situation, is it allowable to do that on property owned by the university?
They are working on, there are a lot of different ways that can look, and so UT Knoxville is the first one out of the gates. They're exploring the models that they might do, but certainly there's an opportunity.
Well, if you've ever seen any of the P3 dorms, public-private partnership dorms done at different universities, and the university doesn't have to come up with the capital. It's the private sector. They are world-class facilities, and like as if they were renting to the general public in the market, and they know that, you know, that they're 100% leased. So the private side loves that that model. It's a very popular model. Any other questions for Dr. Martin? Don't be bashful. I know y'all all live it and breathe it down here, because y'all live down this way. I don't, but, no more questions. Thank you, Dr. Martin, and we'll move on. We've got a lot of exciting challenges and initiatives and things to.
They're all opportunities.
Yeah,
Yeah,
without, just got to manage our opportunities,
There you
right?
go. That's right.
So, Robbie, I'll ask Robbie Shelton, a good buddy from times past, to come up, and, I'm glad, I know Robbie's glad to be able to wear that orange tie, with his, alliance to the boys up on the hill.
Right, it is. It's been a great transition. The first thing I would say is the assignment in the community. We told, Dr. Martin, people at the system, how excited this community was about this transition. And that excitement has only grown, and it is still there today. And it's really, as Beverly said, a lot of people said, probably the most important significant things happened to Giles County and community region in a long time. I do want to talk to you about the budget process. One of the goals, or one of the purposes that the advisory board has is to approve the budget. We're not asking for that today at this meeting. We will have a special segment and get night for you to look at, discuss, and approve the budget. But I do want to talk about the process. We started the process in 21. The day we became the University of Tennessee, so all of our business process has changed. Very different from being a private institution, to being a state entity. So the system gave us a lot of support up until July 1st. That support continues today. Be ready on day one. And the gentleman that does my job at the system, David Miller, and his staff have been very helpful to me, very helpful to all my staff. We want to make sure that we were ready on day one. One thing that David said very early in the process, did not want to make any exceptions, and we did. We wanted to be ready. We wanted to be part of the UT system. With that said, the first year was quite a learning process. We learned a lot. We made a mistake or two, but we learned a lot during that time. And Rhonda, who is in the back of the room, who has been here for 34.5 years, it was a heavy lift. And she has done a phenomenal job, her and her staff, having all the business processes ready. I want to thank her. But in year one, we learned the system. In year two, our goal was to educate the rest of the campus on the budget process and involvement in the budget process. So what we did is in January, we sent out in February, January, budget requests to all of our budget managers. We have about 20 budget managers and wanted their budget requests for 23-24. They received monthly an update on their budget, where they're called monthly departmental ledgers. They receive those monthly. They know where they stand with their budget each month. So any difference or any increase that they can actually suggest to us an increase in their budget or a decrease. We're really excited to get those decreases, recommendations, but if they want an increase, they have to justify that increase, and we have all the paperwork ready for them to do that. In addition, our team met with many people here on campus about the process, our chancellor, provost, the vice chancellor for advancement, our athletic director, and I met with the division chairs and program coordinators to come about the process. Once we get the budget requests, and they're due within the next 2 weeks, our budget team will roll those requests up, and we will present them to Dr. Martin and the senior leadership team, and we'll have a final budget post the advisory board. We made a special call session in midnight. I want to point out that we are very grateful to the UT system for all their support that we get. They are an incredible resource. You do not have that as a private. They are an incredible resource. They have been wonderful to work with. Also, I want to say we are very appreciative to the governor and the state legislature for their support of higher education in general, UT Southern in particular. I do want to point out in year two, we are not part of a funding formula. We will become part of the formula in 5 years. We have 3 more years to go. And I think we will look really good in that funding formula, because things that are really looked at is your enrollment, your retention, your graduation rates. And they will see that our enrollment has increased significantly. Our retention rates have increased significantly. Now, graduation, rates, as Dr. Martin, said earlier, lag behind, but they'll also see increases in graduation rates. So when they reset that formula, I'm very excited about what that may mean to, UT Suffolk. Even though we're not part of the formula, we receive recurring, non-reoccurring dollars, recurring dollars for our enrollment. We've also been part of the 4% salary pool last year and 5% salary pool this year. Very glad. We received non-reoccurring. Even before we became part of the system, we received $1 million for marketing and signage that you see on our campus. So we're very grateful for the support that we receive from the governor and the state legislature in the system. Again, we'll come back in mid-May with the budget and ask for a discussion and approval of that budget. But any questions about our budget process?
Robbie, real quick, it's not appropriate. Do you have a guesstimation on what the budget's gonna be, dollar amount?
We probably have an overall budget around $16 million. This year it's a little over $15 million. By next year, my guess would be $16 million overall budget.
And is the funding formula that you referenced, is that documented?
It is. You'll see that I think in year one we received about 5.1 million in recurring funding, and this year about 5.7 million. And next year's estimated once the state legislature approves the budget will be about 5.9 million.
So within the funding formula, there are ways, there's goals to set to jack that number,
There
raise that number up.
there will be. We're not in the funding formula now,
Right.
but we
Right.
had, so retention, basically student success, student success metrics. Tennessee has been very proactive in really establishing funding based upon metrics that surround student success. And so as we work on improving retention and graduation rate, we're doing all the right things for the funding formula.
And also, what the system does for us, they will advocate for us between now and that time. And they do a great job. The system does a great job advocating for all of its universities, and they really do. So,
And one last question, is there a capital funding formula or is it just operations?
So for capital projects, we have to, their requests, but we have to
Okay.
make capital
So
requests.
it's not a formula, it's just a
That's
request and you have to justify the request.
and I'm going to speak in a few minutes about some of those requests
Okay.
that have been funded and some are asking for.
Okay. All right, thanks, Robbie. Anybody else have any other questions? Hate to be the question man here today, but anyway, all right, so we'll jump right into academic and Dr. Cheatham, you're on. And you might speak to Reverend Spain's wife that just passed. If you close early.
Very, very sad news for those of you who have followed Martin Methodist, and that is that our beloved Bishop Von Spain, who Richard Warren and I call passed away last fall, and his wife, Sybil, who was one of my mother's very best friends in the world, passed away just the other day. So sad news for us.
Prayers for the Spain family.
He was wonderful. He was reading right before he died. He had a stack of books by his bedside, and his pastor said to him, "Well, Bob, what are you doing?" He said, "We never know what I'm going to do." But he was keeping up with things. It is a delight for me to be able to talk to you about that every program. Dr. Harville and I both learned to teach English in the English department at UT Knoxville. We have wonderful mentors. We have, as graduate students, they provided the kind of experience that very few people actually got. So to be here when we were able to make that transition to the University of Tennessee, it was like being in an ice cream store. So I want to tell you, I know I don't think that maybe that can be ice cream, but Dr. Carl and I do, and we are so excited to tell you what's going on new. For one thing, as Martin Methodist, we did not have much money for faculty development. And we did not have the money that we needed for student faculty research. And if you think about it, especially in the health fields, in sciences, in criminal justice, in business, there's such a need for students to be mentored in a special way by faculty, and they can do their faculty research projects together. Because of the funding actually that Evan Beach has gotten for us from several of you actually in this room, including others, we have wonderful faculty development funds. We've had so much student faculty research in the STEM fields that we'll have our special presentation next Thursday, actually, that we've never been able to have before. So that's very exciting. There were some new majors that as we were talking in 2020, looking toward 2021, we have been encouraged to add. One was cybersecurity, one was computer information systems, one was public health education, because there are some students who either don't want to be a nurse or they are not able to keep those top grades, but that doesn't mean that they're not smart students and they're able to do another major that's actually related to health fields. So I even brought you, I want to tell you how many people are in those fields because they're brand new. And this is so exciting. There are in the public health education. Now, this is a brand new major. There are already 23 majors in that. I want to tell you that the MBA, Jimmy, you have to hold on to your hat. The MBA has 31 students in it. And 21 will graduate in May. And then right this minute, and we still got plenty of time, we have 16 that will, some are new, that will start in the summer. And then we've got the criminal justice major as well. And in that cybersecurity, we've got the major and the minor. And right now, in that major, we have 16. So we're really excited about that. In education, we're part of the Grow Your Own program and the Job Embedded program. The most exciting thing that we are doing probably is we're helping the state. As you know, the state of Tennessee is desperate for teachers. And we're really desperate down here in our little triangle as we're trying to serve these counties that are around us. They don't have a strong tax base in many situations. And we are, as Dr. Martin was saying, the only 4-year between Memphis and Chattanooga. So this Grow Your Own, we are working with the state to take people, some have degrees and they're in another program called Job Embedded. And then Grow Your Own is people who, usually it's people who have some college, they're already working in the public schools, but they don't have the 4-year degree. And in so many cases, they haven't had the money to go back and get the 4-year degree. So we're able for the first time to take those folks, bring them in and work with their schools so they don't have to quit their jobs. They can't afford to quit their jobs. And so we're able to allow them to take our classes, do their field work, essentially, their clinical work, essentially, in their own classrooms. And that will bring us between 40 to 50 new students this fall. We're really excited about that. We have our own coordinator here, and we also have a regional coordinator. So that's an exciting thing. And also, across the country, whatever we know about the teacher shortage, the one area that is the most critical across the whole country is special education. 98% of the special ed jobs across the country are not filled. I have wanted to have a licensure in special ed since the day I got here because the need is so great. Not only do we have one licensure, we now have 2. We have 2 licensures. The second one's not even on the books yet. We just got approval from the state. And what it means is we can license you in special ed from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. And in that program that is just counting the one, we've already got 16 majors. So that's wonderful. And my own hope is that that's an area that we'll start with education as the masters, as we start looking, just because it's such a need for the state. In business, we'll also be pursuing our accreditation. Education will be accredited again this summer with nursing. What the University of Tennessee relationship has brought to us with healthcare is amazing. So we bring UT Health Science Center personnel to our campus, and they meet our students. They go through our biology classes. They have a wonderful program in Memphis that our students now know about. And the program is for anybody who's interested in any type of healthcare. And so in Memphis, their personnel designed for our students special kind of programming, and that'll start this summer. So we have students who are already going to that. I neglected to say that in special education, we have students who will be going to Rachel Smith's camp in Arkansas this summer. What we have found is the opportunities just abound, and the faculty development, this is really important. So Duran knows, Jimmy knows that I have begged and pleaded for people to join our faculty when we were Martin Methodist. We didn't have faculty development money. When Dr. Martin asked me to identify how many new people, new faculty that we'd been able to hire since 2021, it's 34%. I have gotten people that we're able to attract because of the name, who have looked at us because of the name, and they've told me that the only reason that they looked at their positions was because of the name. And then when I talk about faculty development, that has just made such a difference. We have all the 12 courses that one has to do for pre-engineering. We've got all those on the books. And because I was able to get these new faculty, I got about 8 engineers, so it wasn't hard at all to figure out who would teach those different courses, because we were able to attract these folks full in and part-time. Do you have, one more thing, dual enrollment. And so today we hosted the math contest, and we had schools from across our area of the state, starting in the 8th grade, and they go all the way up to calculus, and they're in a competition right this minute. Chuck Paysinger Award is given today, and he was a stalwart at Martin Methodist. So we've got that, but we're able to then offer scholarship money, and the fact that our tuition is so much more affordable has made a huge difference too. I thought you might be interested. Our number 1 major is business. We've got our first class this spring in ag entrepreneurship. Will Mayfield is teaching it. The Spear family has given us money for an emphasis in entrepreneurship. And then we're talking with the agricultural folks at UTAI, and we are, and so we, we'd love to then go ahead and offer some courses in agriculture. We're looking to kind of see what that's going to look like, and we're really excited about it. Anybody want to ask me anything? See what I think it's ice cream.
So somebody duty under your name, it said be mindful of time, so
I'm done.
we admire your
I'm done.
I haven't lost it. And no, thank you, Judy. Your enthusiasm is great. We love it, and there's so many opportunities. You speak about the ag. I know that's a great emphasis, Dr. Martin. So anyway, we appreciate it. All right, being mindful of time, next up we have our athletic director, our vice chancellor and athletic director, Ms. Brandy Paul. Thank you, Brandy.
All right, I will be mindful of time. So I just wanted to point out a couple of things. The biggest thing that I've been asked since becoming UT Southern is, are you going to go NCAA? The answer is no. We are going to stay NAI. We just got back from the conference, like Dr. Martin said. NAI is our home. It's where we fit. I don't foresee us, maybe when we grow in the future, perhaps maybe NCAA, but right now we're NAI, National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. That's where we're going to stay. We are making some changes Right now, we're in the Mid-South Conference. Next year, we'll go back to the Southern States Conference. Right now, in the Mid-South, we are the southernmost school. So we're having to travel north. So that obviously affects the outdoor sports as well as the winter sports. We're having to travel in the snow. So my thought was, let's go south. So we'll be the northernmost school. We're traveling south. Come next year, we'll go to the Southern States. So that's one change. The other change is right now we have 19 intercollegiate sports. We are dropping bowling at the end of this season. Rationale is we do not have a bowling alley. So our student athletes are traveling 30 minutes to and from the bowling alley every day to practice, which takes away from their class time. So they're not as able to be as successful. They are successful, but they're not, they're spending a lot of time on the road getting there and back. Plus our bowling coach, who has done a great job with our program, is retiring at the end of the season. So he had not recruited the past 2 seasons. So we're basically gonna have to revamp the whole situation with bowling. So when Dr. Martin and I talked in executive council, we decided that it was time right now just to put that on hold. Maybe we get a bowling center, maybe we get a new coach in the future, but right now bowling will not be with us next year. However, we are adding outdoor track and field. And the rationale behind that is that we have cross country now, which is a fall sport. And outdoor track and field is kind of like the sister of that sport. So we'll add that in the spring for our other sports. So we still have 19 sports going into next year. The other change is our JV sports. We have 1 court, as you guys know, and we had 7 teams trying to get on that court, which was terrible because they were starting practice at 5 a.m. They were starting their last practice at 9 p.m. for all those teams to get in there and practice. So we had talked when Robbie and I were talking about the scholarship situation and athletics in general, just how to better utilize our athletics and dropping some of those JV sports, men's, women's basketball and volleyball. That way our court is open up a little bit more. And those student athletes that we do have are getting a better experience because, practicing at 5 a.m., going to class all day, starting practice at 9 p.m. is just not optimal for our student athletes. So we will still have baseball, softball, soccer, men's and women's soccer, JV sports. We'll keep those sports, and that's strictly because we do have the coaches and we do have the facilities out on East Campus to give those student athletes the experience that they deserve. The one big thing that I'm most proud of is our GPA. At the beginning of the season, I met with every team and I gave them a goal. And I'm happy to report that every team except for one, our men's, women's swimming, and they're kind of in a coaching situation right now, was the only one that did not meet that goal. Our men's basketball team went, astronomical. It was like, even Dr. Cheatham was like doing cartwheels, like it was crazy how much they did. Like they went from down here to up here in 1 semester, and I'm hoping that continues. So that's something I really push is at student first, athlete second. So our GPA was 3.04. I'm trying to get that up to a 3.1 and then just keep increasing that. So very, very intentional on my part to make sure that academics comes first and that the student athletes are student first. Any questions about athletics?
Questions? I know so when Duran and I were on the board in previous, I know we just really struggled with transportation.
Yes, you'll be happy to know. We just bought 3 new vans. Well, I say new, they're gently used between 5,000 to 10,000 miles.
Yeah.
Very nice vans. They're the high top vans, so you could stand up if you want to, but you're not going to because you're gonna have a seatbelt on. But they do have a little room, so you can actually move around a little bit. And then we got a Traverse for one of our minivans, so we can recruit in and carry equipment if they need that. So yes.
Right.
So 2 things. One, I would love to see Dr. Cheatham do his cargo.
Yeah.
Number 2 was, I was wondering if you would comment on how we cared for our JV athletes who are in the JV programs and our
Yes.
bowling athletes that are.
So last year we disassembled our men's basketball team, and what we did with those student athletes is we gave them an opportunity. If they didn't want to stay here at UT Southern, we obviously gave them a release to go wherever and help them find a new home if that's what they chose. The ones that chose to stay here, which was 80% of them, they either were student athletes or they're practice players for our women's team, which is really kind of cool. So that a way that they're still involved, but they're still part of the program. We're doing the same thing with volleyball. We have 3 JV volleyball kids that are going to come back and be either student managers or help with the volleyball team. And then women's basketball, the exact same thing. When we disassemble bowling at the end of this season, interestingly enough, we have several. We didn't think any of them would come back, and they are. A lot of them are coming back. I have 4 I know for definite that are coming back. The other kids, again, we allowed them either a transfer option or Dr. Cheatham did, evals on every single one to show them where they were in their graduation and their coursework. And then we just worked with them on each individually, how they wanted to pursue, whether they want to stay here at UT Southern or move on to a different program.
Scholarship.
We kept all their scholarships. I don't know if you guys, we are student first. I don't know if you guys saw the unfortunate news about the volleyball player. Breaks my heart, who got hit by a car walking on the sidewalk in St. Louis and lost both of her legs. And the first thing she called our assistant volleyball coach and was like, "What are you gonna do?" And it makes me sad. And we're like, "We will honor your scholarship," and she's coming next year. So we honor student first, take care of them no matter what, and that young lady will be a part of our program next year.
And in the 19 sports, does that include, the trap team?
It does.
That's the only co-ed team.
No, we have competitive cheer as well.
Okay, sure.
So we have two co-ed sports, and our competitive cheer team just did really well. They finished 8th in the nation. Our clay target team was down just a little bit this year. They finished 4th overall. We have a new coach. He did a great job. I think a lot of the kids felt when he got back, he's like, I think they thought they were going to get out there and just win because of who they were. And they did not. And I think that was an eye-opening thing for him and the kids. But yeah, they finished 4th this year. They just got back from Texas.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, presentation, and
Yes, sir.
now I guess, we'll turn to, Evan Beach, who, as a presentation. He's going to get some relations.
I didn't want to. Kevin, if you could pull up the slideshow. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to go on the record and say, I hope next agenda, I agree with Dr. Martin, that Dr. Cheatham could show us the cartwheels and give us a brief demonstration.
If you want to tell me that that's 5 million typo, it should have been 10.
We'll work on it.
It started.
I was gonna say, you're ready to sign a gift agreement, right?
The door's just locked.
As soon as Kevin gets a slide up here. You can go ahead and next one, Kevin. I wanted to point out where we stand since becoming UT Southern. I started here on a part-time basis at 25% appointment and advisory capacity, starting when we became UT Southern. I came out of the UT Institute of Agriculture, working in their advancement department, and then became interim vice chancellor advancement, starting January 3rd of 2022. And so for fiscal year to date, for FY22, where we were this time last year, we were sitting at $4.76 million raised. And you'll see that we're down a little bit this year. We're at $2,746,000. And I'll credit that to a lot of one-time campaign money that when it became UT Southern, we had a challenge match. If UT Southern could raise $1 million, we had a donor that said he would chip in $1 million, and they were able to raise $3 million. So if you take that out of the equation, we're tracking above where we were this time last year on dollars raised. So Kevin, next slide, please. In this slide, you'll look and see where we were this time last year on the number of donors. Number of donors this time last year was about 880. And this time this year, we're at a little over 1,300. We're going to credit a lot of that to we started mailers. We had a giving day that surpassed its goals. We had a donor goal on our giving day versus a dollar amount goal. It was I Heart UT Southern Week and the day of giving. We had a donor goal of 203 donors. It was on February the 3rd, so you kind of see how that went. And we surpassed that 250 plus donors, and we ended up raising $86,000 in one day. So you can see we're really going along really well with that day of giving, and we're going to do bigger and better next year. And we've used a lot of social media for that. We used a lot of just getting the word out around the community. You saw around the community here in Giles County, Lawrence County. There was a lot of I Heart UT Southern signs in the windows of businesses and at people's homes. And it also had a QR code you could scan. But these I Heart UT Southern signs, say, I heart UT Southern because, and you were able to put in the reasoning why you loved UT Southern. And we encourage people to post that on social media for why they loved UT Southern, whether it's a faculty member, the time spent here, whether it was a small town feel, whatever. We encourage students the same way. And then they could scan the QR code and they could give to our day of giving. And it turned out a lot more successful than I thought it was going to be. But again, President Boyd, improbable goals or possible and improbable, and that was right in between there. So again, next year bigger and better. Next slide, please, Kevin. I did want to take a moment to highlight a lot of the gifts that we've got, a lot of the major gifts we've received since becoming UT Southern. We had the $3 million Boyd Founders Circle. And again, that was when we became UT Southern. It was a fundraising campaign to really set UT Southern on solid ground, to have some reserves built in. And Robbie's very grateful for that, I know. And then since then, though, we've had 11 new scholarship endowments, which is huge considering the short time we've been around. Also, a lot of those scholarship donors are the same ones who gave to the Boyd Founders Circle. So they see the value of higher education in this region and around the country. We received an unrestricted endowment for the nursing program. Most of you, if you've ever been involved in fundraising and been solicited, you know those unrestricted dollars are very hard to come by. We had a donor step up and say that they believed in the nursing program and what UT Southern's offering with our 80% of our nursing graduates staying in rural areas. This person believed in what the program was offering, so they committed $100,000 to start an unrestricted endowment for nursing. So that can be used to pay faculty salaries, student scholarships, equipment needs, things like that, and it's permanent funding. So very appreciative of that. 4 new chancellors unrestricted endowments. Again, that word unrestricted is rarely used in the fundraising world, but I think it speaks for the belief in UT Southern and the belief in what Dr. Martin's doing and the trust that they have in the institution. For these donors to step up and say, the chancellor, the executive leadership team, and the advisory board know the needs of the campus, and the chancellor should be able to spend the money how he or she wants to and needs to better grow and make our campus a destination campus. And so we've had several of those come through. And again, that's permanent funding for the chancellor. The earnings off those endowments will allow Dr. Martin to do strategic priorities around the campus, as well as really focus on student success. We have an MBA support fund. Dr. Cheatham highlighted the growth of the MBA program. That's an unrestricted support fund to support the MBA program. That's a $30,000 fund. That we've had a generous donor step up and say, I see the value of going back and getting your MBA or continuing right on through to get your education. Dr. Cheatham is working on reaccrediting the MBA or getting the MBA program accredited with those funds now, as well as supporting some opportunities at the Lawrenceburg office that we have over there. We have 2 scholars programs. So the Bank of Frank Ewing stepped up to do a scholars program that is focused on student success and retention, as well as internship opportunities. That they committed a pilot program for 3 years. Based on the success of that program, I feel like it will be re-upped when the 3 years expires. We also have the Ingram Scholars Program. So it has students from all 13 counties that the Economic Development Regions supports. We have students from each of those counties that go out and do a project in their home county. They'll identify a need, they'll work with their county governments, and they will do a project. The county report back to the program coordinator, to the donor, and see how the project worked out and how they've enhanced their local communities. And they will also have internship opportunities. They'll have a lot of networking opportunities. I know they've used the chancellor's home already for an etiquette dinner. And I know Dr. Cheatham led that, and Dr. Cheatham's big on that. But if we're going to train the next leaders of the country, then they need to know how to conduct business. We also have a faculty development endowment fund. Dr. Cheatham highlighted the importance of that and that she's been able to use that fund. I know we've sent faculty nationally and internationally with those dollars, and we hope to see that continue to grow. A lot of times it's very easy to get money for scholarships. And a lot of times our faculty, I think Dr. Harwell can attest, maybe forgotten about as far as faculty development funds. So we're glad we have donors that see the importance of those funds, and that in order to recruit and retain quality faculty and students, we've got to get our word out, get our faculty out there in the field to develop them and grow them in their fields. We have an education symposium fund. We have funding for that for 5 years, and then that will be re-upped as well. Dr. Cheatham had this wild dream that we could be an education hub for teachers in the region. They could come and they could get faculty development hours and credits, as well as some guidance for their programs. We could bring national speakers in and have them more like a beg, borrow, and steal, except we're getting to keep it all in this region, but we're stealing from nationally and internationally renowned education experts. And so Dr. Cheatham was, I think I can say, was thrilled to have those funds. Student emergency endowment, we realized when COVID hit, I believe that we really needed to have funds for students. And I know Martin Methodist and UT Southern were no different than that. I know at the UT system, we saw that. We really beefed up our student emergency funds. We had a donor that really saw the importance of that and said, I want to make sure that we have permanent funding for student support in the tragic event something happens to the students, whether they have a house burned down, they lose a job, they can't afford to come here. We have a student emergency endowment that we can tap into, as well as a fund for that as well. So we have permanent funding for that, and we always want to add to that endowment to grow our permanent funding for those. And I hope that endowment didn't get used a lot, but it's there if we need it. Something that I believe Coach Paul would be is excited about, and that's having unrestricted permanent funding for athletics. I know she always wants more. I'm sure she goes to Robbie wanting more all the time, but trying to help her out, we had a donor step up and create an unrestricted endowment for the athletics program. So Director Paul can decide how that money's used. It can be used for any sports, any programming, traveling, whatever Coach Paul sees the need, she can use it. So that's again, it's more the unrestricted monies. And I think again, I go back to the donors believe in the mission of what we're doing here at UT Southern, or they wouldn't give this unrestricted money, and they have faith in the leadership here. And it's really encouraging and a lot of fun to go out and be able to tell our story and be able to brag on the leadership that we have here at the institution to get these unrestricted dollars. So with that, I'll take any questions.
How did the NBA 30K support fund, is that, what, can you explain that a little more, please?
Doctor, I'm gonna rely on Dr. Cheatham. Dr. Cheatham, if you want to touch on that, on how you spent that thus far.
So the donor wanted to help us do the kinds of things with the NBA that the best NBAs do. And so, for example, students need, because these people all work. So they need to have opportunities to meet people like you, or meet people like Don Smith, to meet folks like that. So we haven't paid, we wouldn't pay you, Jimmy, but what we do is we have a dinner, and we would let the students sit around with.
And I get to pay for the dinner.
That's fine. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a wonderful graduation dinner. And what this donor has done, so NBA classes start at 5 o'clock, and all these people work. So as you know, many NBA programs around the country, they start at 5 o'clock. So when you come in, you get a snack. So we've been able to do that in Martinsburg. You get a snack, you get your snack, and you go into the building, and that's when you do work. And then also the accreditation process costs us $80, not really, but almost. And so we didn't have the money to do that. And when I talked to the donor, he understood that.
And then the athletic fund, can you expand on that? Is it funded, or is there?
It's fully funded. So there's about $50,000 sitting in the endowment, and that'll spin off. Director Paul will have 4.5% of those earnings on a 7-year rolling average to spend. And it's unrestricted for her use. So if
the earnings, she can't tap into the 50.
we do not tap into the endowment. We want to make sure it's funding forever. So as long as UT Southern's in existence, there's gonna be a permanent fund for the athletic director, and she's gonna be able to have their earnings off of that endowment. That's why we stress the importance of the endowment, and I think it probably eases some of Robbie's budget concerns. I know when the budget comes around, to know that we'll have those permanent income streams, and we don't have to worry at least a little bit about some of that funding.
Anybody else have any other questions? Thanks, Evan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, I guess the last thing on our schedule today is Robbie's back up to talk about life safety and security and ADA and stuff that we briefly touched on. And I know the security aspect is obviously heightened after what happened in Nashville this week, so.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jimmy. In year one of being the UT system, again, we have a very good capital projects office that's led by Austin Oaks and Michelle Crowder and the team. They have been very helpful to us. In year one, we were able to receive from the state $1 million life safety upgrade. And what this is, it allows us to put fire alarm systems and fire suppression systems in 4 of our buildings: the Johnson Center, the Andrews Science Building, Martin Hall, and the Curry Athletic Center. These funds that you receive from the state, the vast majority, if not all of them, are for academic buildings, or another way to say it, non-revenue generating buildings. A lot of these funds can't be used in places that generate revenue. They have to support the academic program. We also will have a little money left over to put on some exterior, the total scope of the project will also include putting on some, changing out some doors up at the Curry Christian Life Center. So we're excited about having that. The scope is being developed as we speak. The work will start in earnest in late spring and early summer, with the goal of having that completed by the fall semester. ADA accessibility. We have a lot of people working on this. Last year, we did a study with AECOM that looked at our sidewalks and our parking lots on the campus down below here. It did not include the East Campus or the Curry Athletic Center, but we have that report. We're starting some of that work this summer. We're investing almost $200,000 in redoing some of our parking lots and sidewalks this summer. We're starting that process. The facilities team and our facilities director, I should say, and our senior leadership team toured the campus just a couple of weeks ago, looking at a couple of issues, ADA accessibility and space issues going forward. So we have looked at it. We are in the process of having another group come on campus, which is Winslow, to look at all of our buildings internally and identify opportunities and challenges for ADA accessibility, but we are addressing those also. There's even a class here on campus. I think it's their senior project where they are looking at ADA accessibility issues here on campus. We know we have some challenges, but we are ready to meet those challenges. The state is also willing to help us meet some of those challenges. So we are working on that. And as you mentioned, Jimmy, safety and security, another great thing that the University of Tennessee system has is they have an internal audit office, and we've had several internal audits with the compliance office. They are going to do a safety and security at our request. We're going to do a safety and security audit for us. That work will be again very quickly, probably by the end of the month, 1st of May. They'll have recommendations for us, but absolutely, as Dr. Martin said, number one priority is safety and security, and you can never be too safe in today's world or too cautious.
Thank you, Robbie. Anybody have any questions? Robbie?
Yes, sir.
There's been talk for years about having keyless entries. Where do we stand?
We have a RFQ out for that, request for proposal, RFP. And we are looking at that along with making all of our doors handicap accessible. We are in the process of looking at that. I can't say for sure we'll have that by the fall, but we are in the process of doing that work.
And we're also looking at lighting, security cameras, the electronic door locks, the swipes, all of that is part of the security audit and we'll start moving forward this summer on going down the list and making sure that we're working on this.
Dr. Haynes?
Probably on, just for instance, sidewalks or street lighting and things like that. Is that anything we can involve the city
It is.
with partnering with that?
We can, and JJ is very excited about partnering with us on a multitude of projects, that being one of them. So, yeah, we can partner with the city.
Anybody else? Robbie? Thanks, Robbie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Lot to be done. Keeps you busy, keeps you young, Robbie. You can't be sitting around without anything to do. So, okay, last we have, one final, bit of business. We need to approve the minutes from the December 2nd meeting. I will say that there is obviously a mistake because I wasn't here to vote and, I'm kidding. So, everybody's got the minutes in their packets, and I will entertain a motion for approval. Second. Second. Duran, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries, and that concludes, business portion and a lot of information. I think, all us, new advisory board members appreciate the hard work by the team, and there's no test, it's just, enjoy the information, and, I think you know a lot, but then you learn a lot, and we really appreciate all the hard work of the staff and Dr. Martin's leadership. And any closing remarks? Duran, do you have anything to offer? I know we're the old guard here.
Excited about where this place is going. Not quality.
I was glad to see I'm finally younger than something. I'm younger than the average age of all the buildings. Just about 3 years. I guess I'll never catch them. Right? Anybody else have anything to offer? I know we're short one board member. You go to report on the student.
So we did have to develop a process on campus for selecting the student. We have the process developed. We're now getting nominations that will be reviewed by the scholarship committee. They'll recommend 3 to the senior leadership team who will interview and make a recommendation to the group. That person will fill the rest of from May to June, but will continue on for the next year. We just need to make sure that the students selected, that we can ensure that they would be here through the next year. In the special meeting, when we approve the budget, we'll also approve the student representative.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I think we got some hats maybe for later. Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
So any further business? If not, I'll take a motion for adjournment. So moved. All those in favor say aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.